Hey, what's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Alex S. Moy here, aka the Data Doctor, back with more Tableau buildouts. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a sales data set, and let me go ahead and share my screen so you can see it over here. And so what we've got over here is I'm pulling this data set straight off of Kaggle. And Kaggle is a great tool for grabbing different data sets. There's definitely different repositories. Try to keep away from using client data. Some clients do give permission to use their data, but today we're looking at this online data set over here, online retail sales. And I've already taken a look at this data very, very briefly just to kind of profile it. We've got some product type information over here. And then we've got a secondary data set, which is more aggregate sales. This information is interesting. It's not going to be terribly useful, but I think we can still do some really cool dashboarding with this. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and dive in. I've already downloaded both data sets and loaded it into a folder. So let's go ahead and go full screen and grab Tableau and dive right into this data set. So let me grab my Tableau window over here, and we're going to connect to our text files. So I'm going to come back over here. I think it is, let me see which folder it is in. It's number 4 over here. Okay, and we've got 2 different data sets that's tied to this same business. So I'm going to load this one in right here, and you can see that it's by product type. So there's some interesting values in here. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new data source, same thing. Connect over here. I'm going to pull in our retail sales too. So we've got both of them. They don't join together. There's not any common keys. This is by different time periods, and the other is by category. So let's see how long this takes to kind of go through and profile some of this data. But there is I think we're just going to focus maybe more on the trend data today, and we might come back and do the product category segmentation type stuff in future time. So let's go ahead and look over here. So we've got this month and year. So first thing I'm going to do is create a calculation. I'm going to do, we'll call this date. And what I want to do is grab that value over there. Let's see. If I take a look over here, we should be able to convert that. So we're going to say we're going to take the year, and we're going to have to grab the string of the year. So let's grab that, and then we're going to add to that our text over here plus our month value. And let's do this, let's make this a little bit different. We're going to grab this over here. I'm going to say 1, comma, plus our year. And I think that should be a valid date format. Let's take a look at what that does right here. Yeah, it does recognize it. We've got all of our years, all of our quarters and months in there. So we're able to convert that. And that's just going to make it a little bit easier to manage or try to build out our calculations and visualizations. So let's take a look at some of these metrics that we have over here. I'm going to drag this and put all that stuff over here. Let's grab this and let's just take a look at what this looks like over our dates in a discrete formats. And so we've got this over here. Now let's actually grab this, and I'll put this, we'll leave it like that. We'll just flip it back around. So we've got discounts, gross sales, net sales, returns, shipping, total orders, and total sales. So these are all pretty interesting. We'll kind of take a look at how these calculations play into each other. So at the highest level, I think what we're seeing is going to be gross sales. And then if you take discounts and returns, typically you're going to subtract those out. And I think those are straight number values. Yeah. And that will give you net sales. Total orders is going to be a standalone value. And then with shipping over here, I think if you add shipping, so I think this is the income that they're collecting from shipping and they're adding it to a total sales or net sales to get total sales. So what's really interesting about this data right off the bat is that we don't have cost of goods sold. So we don't even know what our gross margin is. And if you've followed any of my analytics tutorials and videos, you know that gross margin is very, very important when you're looking at sales data, when you're looking at marketing analytics or sales analytics in general. Because if you don't know what gross margin is, you don't really know how much you're making or how much you're losing when you are running marketing campaigns. So know in the description of the data set, it said something about them going up to 25 employees and then having to cut back down to 5. That's really interesting because you can see that it actually spikes up. Sales spikes up. It looks like their discounts increase in proportion to that. So it kind of trends downline over there. Returns is kind of interesting. We'll take a look at that in a second. And then this net sales goes up, shipping. Okay, so all of these other values go up, and that looks like it's entering into the COVID season. So we're kind of seeing some of that stuff play out over here. We're looking at this trend line. Otherwise, it looks relatively flat if we discount that ending period. So I don't know if they just ramped up really, really quickly, like a lot of other online businesses did for COVID. And then after COVID, their business did not sustain itself, or and it just kind of died off. It just really depends on how they built their business and what they're running in terms of marketing strategy. But let's kind of break this out a little bit differently. I want to see discount as a percentage of gross sales, and same with returns, because showing the raw value doesn't give us a great comparison metric. So we're going to take a look at that. And this shipping, I don't know that it's that useful, nor is total sales if we discount shipping. And so we're just going to take a look at these 4 numbers over here and how they compare to one another. And then we'll also track this total orders because I think that could be useful. So let's go ahead and clear out some of these things right here. We'll remove those 2 values. In fact, just because I don't really want to mess with those 2 metrics, let's just go ahead and hide them from our data set altogether and just keep the ones that I think are really valuable here. So we're going to do discount percentage. And so what we want to do, remember whenever you're doing, I'm going to do negative discounts because it's already a negative value. You can see that. Whenever you're doing percentages and aggregations, you want to make sure you take the sum of your values before you do your division, because otherwise you'll end up with a per line, per record calculation, and then you'll sum all that together or you'll aggregate in some other way. And that's not going to give you the same calculation. You're going to get the wrong answer. And in fact, if you're working on your Tableau certification or anything like that, you're going to find out that that is a nuance that you need to know and be very, very cognizant of. All right, so we're going to do the same thing for returns. We're going to do the gross sales over here. And then I want to do the same over here for net sales. So net sales percentage. And I'll show you exactly why I want to do it like that, because I have an idea for what we can do on a dashboard side and how this will look over there. So net sales, sum of net sales divided by sum of gross sales. And so when we look at this, say on a year-to-year basis, these percentages will be correct instead of it adding up multiple periods together. So let's take a look at what these metrics look like now. If we grab those We can see what our discount percentage is, what our return percentage is, and our net sales percentages. And now you have a better idea. Let's actually change all the default properties of this to percentage. And if you didn't know that, you can control click on all these pills and format them all at once. I'm going to do 1 decimal place. And that's going to update those values over there. So if I hover over here, I can see 90%, 70%, 95. So it looks like net sales percentages stay fairly consistent over here. That's a good thing. There's definitely some low points over here. So we're going to play around with this and build this out. So what I am envisioning on our dashboard side is we're going to actually have these KPIs, these key performance indicators, laid out over here with some spark lines, and we'll highlight the lows and the highs, and we'll then have the current period total above that. And so that should be pretty good right there. And then we'll have some of our key ratios. So we'll do like the return percentage, discount percentage, and the net sales percentage shown over here. And then we'll have a trend of those different percentages, and then we'll have a trend of our sales over here broken out. So I think that will be pretty good, given the sparseness of this data set over here. But that's going to give us something useful for our end user to be able to compare from period to period. And then the final thing we'll probably add is going to be, if I'm looking at this, is there's different trends per year, and so we might want to display that as well. There's a lot of other things that we can play with. And so I just want to make sure that we're not getting too lost in the weeds and making sure that this is something that's useful and actionable for our end user, for our consumers. So let's go ahead and dive into building out that first one. So let's go ahead and grab gross sales over here. We're going to do the same thing where we've got our date. I'm going to right click and drag that. That's going to give me this pop down or pop out. Actually, I do want it to be continuous right now, and we've got this month, year, and let's change this back to discrete. And well, actually, let's go back to, continuous date is fine because we can use our filters later on. So we've got our gross sales over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify this chart the way I want it, and then we're going to use this to then duplicate it for all of our other calculations. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to make this a line, and then I want to, let's see if I can remember how to do this. I want to highlight our max and min values across the table. And so let's show our marks over there. And we'll create, let's see. We actually want to put a detail for each one of these values. So it's going to be if it's the min or the max on the table, and then it's going to categorize that. So let's create this table calc over here. And essentially what we're going to do is say, how do we want to do this so that it's reusable? Right, so we can, let me think about this. If gross sales equals window min, and then this is just going to be min of gross sales. Actually, it could just be sum. So if it's rolled up, it'll be then min, else if gross sales equals window max, or sum of gross sales. Then max else NA end. All right, so okay, so we're just going to do sum of gross sales over here and change this into an aggregate. Okay, so let's take a look at what this looks like here. So if I take something like this and drag it over here, right? And actually I'm going to duplicate my sales, and we're going to make this into, maybe we're going to do this as a dual axis chart. Make sure we synchronize our axis. That's sometimes an issue. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to actually make this a shape. And then what we want to do is come over to this, and we're going to put our colors on here. And so our color for NA is going to just be the standard blue. And then for our min, we'll do red. And for our max, we'll do green. And so that we can start to see some of those trends. And then we'll just hide our labels. We'll just put that over there, and we'll make our line color over here. We can make it, turn it back to a gray color over here. And I'm going to make that a little bit thinner. And then I can actually take this calculation and put it on size as well. And you can come over here and actually change this. So we can play around with that just a little bit. And now some of those other points are not as prominent. We can, of course, come back over here and remove that from our tooltips. And now you can see that. So that's looking all right. We can hide this header over here, hide this header as well. Remove this header. And we can come over here and we can format our background and remove all of these different divider lines. So remove the column dividers, and then we come over here and remove our zero lines. We'll remove our grid lines. And so now you can see that we have this spark chart over here. In fact, let me go back over here and show this header for a second. I do want to modify the axis and make it automatic, not including zero, so that we can see the true spark line effect. We'll hide that back over there. And now you can see exactly what's happening across the whole period. I'm going to come over here and modify this a little bit, make this a little bit more dramatic, apply that over there. And we can come back to our colors, edit our colors, and we can make this gray as well, so they're not as prominent. And now you can see we've got this dual axis chart over here for this one KPI. And that's going to be useful for that. We can actually come back over here if we want to label those min-max values. and show our values over here. I don't love that, so I'm just going to remove it, but you can definitely see how that would work. And so that's going to be our spark line for gross sales. Let's do this also for our discounts and return percentages. So we're going to just essentially duplicate this right here, and we can just grab our discount percentage. I'm going to do the same for this over here. And so now you can see how that is starting to look. And then what we want to do is replace this calculation over here. So we're going to come over here and grab this calculation. We'll just duplicate it. And we'll do this for discounts. So we'll edit this and say discount min-max. And then all of this is just going to be replaced with discount percentage. So I'm going to copy this. And we don't need the sum expression because this is already aggregated. So I'm going to grab all of that. And replace all of those calculations right there. So now we're able to come back in here, replace these values. We need to come in here and replace the colors as well. We'll replace that with the red. We'll replace this with the gray. Come over here. We'll reverse the sizes and shift this just a smidge. And we'll be able to apply that. Let's make that a little bit smaller on the top line. Maybe just a little bit smaller. And now we can see we've got the same type of effect. We can come over here and we can hide our headers. But the biggest thing, of course, is when you build this out, you build the first one and then you're able to duplicate it, and you're able to build this out a lot faster by having that initial one. So let's go ahead and do that one more time for the return percentages, just so that you guys can see what this looks like. So we can come over here, return percentages. I can hide this axis over here. I'm going to duplicate this calculation. We'll edit it. We'll call it once returns. And then just like we did before, we're going to replace the whole thing because it's already aggregate calculation. So I'm going to grab this. And you know, the way we're doing it right here, there's probably other ways to do it as well. But this is the way that we're going to do it right now. It's the first one that kind of came to mind. So I'm going to just use this. And then we can come back over here and replace this. We have to update our axis again. So we're going to do that really quickly. We're able to apply all of that. So we'll come over here, double click that, reverse it, make that a little bit bigger, make that a little bit smaller. And so now you can see that we've got all that. We need to hide that tooltip for that value. So this is interesting. We've got 0 returns for these 2 periods. And so we actually have 2 bottoms, 2 lows. And, you know, if you were just eyeballing this or looking at this on a trend chart, you probably wouldn't see that. So it's very useful to have this kind of broken out already. And then if we go back to this, so let's name these now. So this is returns. This is discount. And then you come back over here and remove this tooltip. So now it's just showing the percentage. That's fine. And this is going to be gross sales. And I'm not going to do net sales just in the interest of time, but you get the idea. If we had more time, we could build everything out step by step fully, but just in the interest of time, I'm not going to build all that out. So the other thing that I want to do is just put some what's known as big awesome numbers. We're going to grab that. I'm going to remove all of this over here. And so we're going to grab this calculation, this, not that one, and this, and just going to drag it. You can just do the show me. We'll flip this over so that our columns are being divided by our measure names, right? And then I'm just going to grab this and move it over there. So we're manually sorting it. It's going to line up with our gross sales, discounts, and returns. I'm going to go ahead and make this fit our entire view and do a little bit of formatting over here. So come over here to our measure values, and we can adjust this. I think we have to do it over here. Sometimes the different alignments are found in different places, so you do have to play around with this sometimes. And then the other thing we'll do is grab the measure names. I'm control dragging. You see that little plus sign? We'll put it on our text down here, and now we've got a label right in the cell itself. So if you've ever wondered how to build this, this is how you do it. We're going to make this a lot larger. Let's make this 20. I'm going to make it, we'll do a medium over here, and then we're going to make this one, say 14. And we'll make it a little bit lighter and see what that looks like. So I think this needs to be just a little bit darker over here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And so let's come over to gross sales and modify this format type as a currency. We'll drop it down to 0 decimal places just so that we get the dollar sign in there. And then the other thing I want to do is grab these measure names and drop it on color. And then now we have it color coded. In fact, I want to come back over here for a second because I think I would like this a little bit bolder. And I think we can, no, that size might be pretty good already. So let's keep that as is. So we want to hide, whoops, not hide. I want to hide our headers. And so now we've got these numbers that are big and awesome. And let's actually go ahead and format this and remove our row dividers. So we can just remove that. And so now we've got none of the borders over there. So we come over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop in a vertical container. The one thing that I like to do is when I'm building with these container objects is to drop in blanks. And so we're going to have a header up top. So I'm going to put this up here. We'll just call this online sales dashboard. We'll make this a little bit bigger. Let's make this bold. So we've got that. We've got this blank over here. And so what we're going to do is put our big awesome numbers right in there. Go ahead and remove this legend because we don't need it. Let's go ahead and hide this title because we don't need that either. So now you can kind of see what we're going for over here. But then what we want is going to be a horizontal container. And the reason why that is, okay, let's make that, let's move that back down. And we'll adjust all of this stuff later, but we want this horizontal container over here so that we can get everything to line up. So I'm going to drop this in here, drop the next one, and drop the final one over there. We'll hide our titles. You can see that we need to come back over here and adjust our sizing a little bit, apply that. That looks good. This one over here, we can adjust that down a little bit. So we can just go ahead and just remove all of those legend items over there. And then if you come over here and select your container, we can make this really narrow. And now we can see how this chart over here lines up with all of that. Let's go back over here for a second, and we'll just make that really tiny. I think that's okay. And then we'll do the same thing on the other ones. It's all right if we hide those other points. So we go back to our dashboard. We can still see our big points. I mean, we could play around with the formatting all day long with the sizes, but we can see that we've got those different points in here. And so that's very useful with the green highlighting to see that. So discounts jumps up quite a bit in line with our sales, and that's a very interesting trend over there. Let's come back over here to this chart, and what we're going to do is make these numbers just a little bit smaller. Make this a little bit smaller as well. And I don't think that we need the coloring for that. So let's just drop that off of there, because we're not really color coordinating this with anything else. And then let's put this actually underneath those trends. So we'll make this really, really tight. Drop that in there. And the other way to grab these containers, so Tableau definitely does some wonky things with the layouts. I'm going to remove these other containers because they're not useful, but here's my horizontal one. I can just click over here and drag this. So this layout is okay. I think we can work with this. It's not necessarily the best dashboard in the whole wide world, but we're working with this right now. And I'll drag this down a little bit further, make that a little bit bigger. And so now we've got this sparkline chart. We've got our big KPI numbers over here. And then what I want to do now is just create another couple of trend lines. And so let's create like a radial chart for some of these percentages. So what I want to do is do a percentage as a circle, as a pie chart, right? So let's think about this for a second. So we want to do discount as a percentage, and in order to do a pie chart, we need a total. So we're going to do discount percentage minus 1. So let's think about this for a second. We want that to have your discount percentage, and then we want the rest of it to total back in, and we want to have it classified. So that's not the right calculation over there that we want to do. We actually want to compare that. Let's think about this. The total. So we want our discounts compared to our gross sales. essentially. So it would actually be the gross sales multiplied by discount percentages in order to get that value, which is just going to give us our discount numbers actually. So if we wanted to do that, it would be a segment, right? So there's nothing to classify anything in here. And so we're not able to really do a row by row calculation for that. So let's see, maybe a different way to show this is we could do it as a bar. Okay, so let's grab all three of these percentages, drag them over here, and we can show them as percentages in this way. Format this as a percentage with one decimal place. We can hide that, and then we can flip this axis and we can show this. In fact, I think this would be more useful as a Gantt bar. In fact, let's do that. Let's build a Gantt bar chart because I think it would actually be really interesting to show gross sales, and then we'll do some of our discounts, right? But as a negative. Let's do this. And then we'll get our returns. But we'll again take the negative returns. And then we will also take our net sales. And then if we do this as a Gantt bar, but we come over here and show I'm not thinking about this the right way, clearly. So we want to have a start and stop. Okay, because each thing is a row. All of these items are for rows and not for. Okay, so let me think about this a different way. All right, so we're going to do this instead. We're going to take gross sales and we're going to show that over time. We've got our time period over here. We're going to come over here and remove this portion down here. I actually want to show this as bars, and then I want to put net sales. Not like that. I want net sales to be on here. Not like that either. I'm going to do a dual axis chart. And I want to show that exactly. And so let's make this actually a Gantt bar. No, let's make this a bar, but let's lower the opacity maybe. So now we have net sales But for whatever reason, we have net sales is actually higher than gross sales. So that doesn't make sense, does it? Because our total sales and our net sales calculations, let's take a look at that. Let's come back over here. We'll take our gross sales, net sales, discounts, and returns. And then we can just take our column total. Or we can just do this, right? We can do a calc. We can use our calculator. Come over here and say 354.17 minus 11.214 minus 17098. And we do get net sales. So that our assumption and calculations are right. So it's really interesting that there's actually periods over here where net sales is lower than our gross sales. Let's actually put this as a shape. Let's come over here and do thin arrows. We need a thin line. That's what we actually need. And let's change this back over here to a line. So yeah, that is kind of weird. The net sales is above gross sales. And so I'm not exactly sure what's going on there, but there's definitely something weird happening in the data. There's certain months where it looks like the net sales is higher than gross sales. Oh, what I realize is, of course, we do need to synchronize our axis as well. And there you go, guys. So make sure whenever you're using two different axes, two different calculations, you have to sync axis. Otherwise, your values will look really, really far off. So with that fixed right there, we can come back over here, make these bars, they align on top of each other perfectly well. I'm going to make this one just a little bit thinner. This is a little bit different. It looks like they've got some updated settings on there. So we'll keep it as is like this, and we'll go ahead and hide our headers. For that side, we will update the headers on this side. But I do think it is useful to keep the headers over here. And then what we're going to do is format the values over here so that they are currency 0 decimal places in thousands. So now I think that will look good. And then we've got our time periods over here. Let's update this and format the date. And let's change it so that we're actually seeing something like month, year. Let's see. I think that looks pretty good right there. So we'll use those time periods. This one doesn't have any data, so let's edit this. It's a little bit wonky having that time period out there, but that's okay. We'll just keep that for right now. And then we'll call this one sales trends. And then we'll be able to drop that right in here. We do want to actually keep this. I think that is going to be useful. We'll hide the title for that. And then, of course, our blank lines over here, that blank container, that object that we were using before, we will just go ahead and remove it now. We don't need the horizontal container for that. Let's go ahead and make that a little bit smaller. We're going to fix this. Come over here and you can set it whatever you like. I think 80 is good. And so we've got our sales trend over here. We're going to format this and remove some of these other additional lines and just kind of reduce the data ink across the board. So when you start to do that, that's actually going to clean up your visualizations quite a bit. So I'm going to actually add this back. Over there so that we can see that. Well, we actually probably don't need that. So let's remove this. And we'll remove the axis ruler. We'll keep the line on the bottom. I think that does look good. So the axis rule, we make it a little bit thicker and drop it in like that. So now we've got this chart down below, which does highlight all of our sales trends, everything like that. We've got this legend that we could use, but what we could actually do is this is a, let's say, gross sales versus net sales. So we can actually come over here and we'll make this a little bit bolder. And what we'll do is we'll actually color it so that it matches the colors. And so I think this is the color, whoops, for gross sales. And then this will be the color for net sales. And now you don't need this legend anymore because you have it already given to you as part of your visualization title. So let's come back over here. Let's center this. And then we've got this visualization. I think that looks really good because you're able to see that, you know, there's a lot of other things we could do with this, but this is going to help us distinguish that. So one other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a comparison, or I'm going to create a little button layout for the years so that we can select which years and give a little bit of interaction. So I'm going to grab this year that we didn't use before and place that in here. Just change this to discrete. All right. Here, we're going to do something very similar to what we did earlier with the big awesome numbers and just drag this in here. Come over here. We're going to align this to the center. Go ahead and make this fill the entire screen, and you can kind of see what's happening already. The values over here are going to become much, much bigger. We'll bold them. Let's do medium. We don't want them too much. And then we can go ahead and hide this header. And then if we come over here and format all of this, and instead of hiding all our lines, we're going to actually use all of our lines. So we're going to add all of our horizontal and vertical lines. And so now you can see there's these little boxes that have appeared over here. And we'll call this years. So we come back over here and we go to our dashboards, grab this and put it up here. Now it looks like we've got some buttons. We'll actually edit this and call it select year. To filter down. Okay, and then we're going to make this text much smaller. And let's make this a little bit bigger. And so if we click this, this does nothing right now. In fact, we can also remove the tooltips. Come back to the sheet over here. Remove the tooltips. But if we come over to dashboard action, or in fact, we can come over here and we can just click on use this as filter. And now when you see, if we click on this particular time period, it's going to filter our entire data set. And now I can come over here and look at 2017 versus 2018 versus 2019. And we can do that very, very quickly. You can see returns over here and discounts. It looks like returns was down in our earlier periods and our discounts was lower. Discounts go up, returns go up. Discounts go up even more, returns go up even more. But on the flip side of that, gross sales does jump up dramatically, right? Almost a 50% growth in that final period because of these two latter months. So just like that, we've been able to build an interactive dashboard for online sales. We only had very, very limited data to work with here, and we could, if we had more time, build out some trend analysis with shipping and what those other sales would be, including shipping. We could actually add order in here as well. In fact, we are very close to our time this hour, but I think we can add in orders very, very quickly. So let's grab our orders and put that over here and put it on our rows. Grab our dates. We'll do our discrete or continuous date. It doesn't matter too much over here. I'm going to edit our axis and drop this title portion. And then we'll also go ahead and format this. We'll format the date so that it matches the same format that we had on the other one. And I think these lines are just fine. We'll go ahead and clear out some of these grid lines over here. We'll go ahead and remove that. And instead of having this axis over here, we're going to do something a little bit different on this one. Let's just go ahead and label the min-max values on here, similar to what we were doing before. And let me show the axis again. I'm going to actually remove the axis being anchored to 0. So it's going to look more like our spark line that we had before. I'm going to hide this. And let's make this text just a little bit bigger, since that's really our only context for these given points. And we'll make that table. So the other part is I'll just go ahead and format this, remove this line over here. So we'll go ahead and remove the, I think that's a column axis ruler. Yes, there we go. So let's go ahead and come back over here. We'll say total orders. We'll grab that. We've put this down here on the bottom. We will edit this and center this. Go ahead and make this bold as well. And I'll do you guys one better. We'll change this over here to orange and come back over here to this chart really quickly. We've got less than 5 minutes left, so I'm going to come here, change this color, and go ahead and hide all of our sheets. And just like that, we've got a dashboard. We should have all the same interactions going on over here. So I think that looks really good. We're able to use some of these colors to inform what's happening on these different reports, all these different charts that are working together. And so just like that, we're able to build this online sales dashboard. It's going to help us inform what's happening with our different strategies, different trends over different time periods. And just like that, we're able to build that out. So that's it for this hour. You can see you can move very, very quickly with Tableau. And if you guys like and enjoyed this, please drop me a comment down below. Share this with friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. So that's it for us today. You can always find these visualizations on my Tableau public account. The links will be down below in the description. So be sure to check that out as well. So until next time, guys, stay busy, and I'll see you guys later.